Last season, 17% of flagrant fouls were against Clark. 17%. I mean, there's how many players? And 17% are all against Clark. Now, you got to be asking yourself, where are the refs?
Caitlyn Clark isn't just making waves in the WNBA. She's become the topic across sports, media, and entertainment. Not because she asked for attention, but because the world can't ignore what she's doing. Game after game, moment after moment, she's pulling in crowds that don't normally watch. She's making headlines that have nothing to do with final scores. And somehow, the conversation around her just keeps getting louder. We've seen great players before, but what's happening now? This is different. The way people react to her, talk about her, try to define her, it says more than any stat ever could. And when you start hearing what some of the biggest names in the world are saying, you'll understand why no one can stop watching. And just when it seems like everyone's jumping on the Caitlyn Clark train, things take a turn. Because when voices like Dr. Phil and Christine Brennan weigh in, not with praise, but with something far more direct, the conversation hits a whole new level. What they said, you won't see it coming. Shane Gillis doesn't get nervous. He's a stand-up comic who makes a living roasting people on stage. Presidents, pop stars, it doesn't matter, he's unfazed. But one night in Indiana, he saw someone in the crowd who actually threw him off.
I was starstruck. Caitlyn Clark was at my show in Indiana, and I had, for some reason, I was like, like, I don't. Every once in a while, somebody gets me that I didn't think was going to make me like,
there's a clip.
Holy.
That wasn't fake humility. That was a moment of real, wide-eyed awe, directed at a player in the WNBA. No music deal, no Hollywood background, just basketball. That's the Caitlyn Clark effect. She doesn't walk into a room, she takes it over, even if you're the one holding the mic. And that wasn't the only one. Dan Dockich has been around the game a long time. He's coached at Indiana, he's worked as an analyst at ESPN, he's seen the greats, coached some of them too. So when a guy like Dan says he's never seen a player quite like Caitlyn Clark, that's not just flattery. That's a broadcast veteran sending a warning shot to the entire league.
The most unique, fan-friendly basketball game that a player in the WNBA has ever had. It's, I said from the get-go, it's Steph Curry. We've seen, and this is unfortunate, we had a great player here, Tamika Catchings, but we've seen her game. Asia Wilson's a terrific player, but we've seen her game.
Yeah, we have.
We've seen from the free throw line down, or we've seen from the three-point line down. We've seen, seen anything like Caitlyn Clark.
And that's the key. He's not just saying she's talented. He's saying she's rewriting the visual language of women's basketball. Her range has changed how teams defend. Her presence has changed how fans watch. Before Caitlyn, no one worried about someone pulling up from 35 feet. Now, teams are picking her up at the logo. She's forcing coaches to draw up men's-style defensive coverages in a league that's never needed them before. Dan isn't exaggerating when he says we've never seen this, because with Clark on the court, defenders aren't reacting, they're scrambling. But not everyone sees it as a good thing. After a dominant Fever win, ESPN's Caroline Peck raised some eyebrows, not because Indiana won, but because Caitlyn didn't play, and Peck thought that made them better.
You were at that game just now. Look, the Fever have been on a tear. They've won 2 in a row, a 25-point blowout of the Lynx in the Commissioner's Cup final, and then 27 against the Aces in this one. In both of those games without Caitlyn Clark. How is Indiana getting this done right now?
Look, I think that Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlyn Clark doesn't play because she's a ball-dominant guard. The ball's in her hands a lot, so you know what you need to try to take away.
Now, that sounds like analysis, but let's be honest, that's not just X's and O's, that's a shot. You don't say that about players you think are role players. You say that about stars who are suddenly making everyone else adjust. But here's the twist. Caitlyn did adjust. Since that quote, her assists are up, her turnovers are down, the wins piling up. She's not just dominating, she's evolving. And if your game is still dangerous when you're off the floor, and even scarier when you're on it, that's superstar status, but even her harshest critics couldn't hold out for long. There's no hiding it. Caitlyn Clark has haters. Always has. Probably always will. But what makes her story different is how many of those haters eventually cross over. They don't just stop booing, they start cheering, loudly. And few admitted that more honestly than Sophia Ruffin.
Hating on a person is real, because they're good. And I'm just gonna admit Like, I was a Caitlyn Clark hater that turned into a fan. But I was only hating on her skill set at that time because she was going up against my favorite team, you know, our favorite, just period across the board, South Carolina. And then the year that she knocked them out of the championship game, it was like, oh, nah.
That wasn't a tactical breakdown. That was a heartbreak confession. South Carolina fans are loyal. They ride for Dawn Staley, for everything the program represents. And when Caitlyn came in and snapped their streak, it didn't just shake the bracket, it rattled loyalties. Because that game, it was a shift. A reminder that greatness doesn't care about your team colors. It walks in, quiets the noise, and rewrites the outcome. Clark didn't win rough and over with charm. She won her over with cold, calculated buckets on the biggest stage of the year. And just when it looked like things couldn't get any louder, someone made a comparison that shook everything. You can always count on the PBD podcast to come in hot. They don't just deliver takes, they launch grenades. And when they brought up Caitlyn Clark, they didn't call her great, they didn't call her exciting, they called her something far more explosive.
Jackie Robinson of the WNBA will be Caitlyn Clark if she stays healthy. There's a group of them that would hope for her to be out. But
why do you say she's going to be the Jackie Robinson of the WNBA?
Well,
it's not like she's the first white girl.
She's not the first white girl, but she's the first white superstar at the levels where she's scoring these, you know, the threes she's shooting. She's like a Steph Curry. She's the first actual superstar that people care. When's the last time we watched like college basketball? If I told you, tell me the greatest college basketball female basketball players last 30 years.
Let that simmer. They're not saying Caitlyn Clark is just talented. They're saying she's a barrier breaker, a game changer. Not because of the color of her skin, but because of how she's crossing over, reaching audiences the league has never touched. Millions of fans, most of whom couldn't name a single WNBA team last year, are now buying Fever jerseys, filling arenas, and quoting her stats. She's not just playing in the league, she's dragging it into the spotlight with her. And if that sounds dramatic, wait until you hear what a late-night legend saw in her. When David Letterman sits across from you, you're not just in the spotlight, you're on the national radar. He's hosted presidents, movie stars, Hall of Famers, and after retiring from network TV, he launched a Netflix series where he interviews only the most fascinating people in the world. So when he sat down with Caitlyn Clark, it wasn't filler, it was validation. And he didn't ask her about stats or salary. He went deeper into what drives her.
That encapsulates what I know of you as a human being. It's that the competitive drive that overrides every little daily occurrence. Am I right about that?
This wasn't small talk. Letterman doesn't toss around compliments. He's dry, sarcastic, known for throwing curveballs. But with Caitlyn, he leaned in. Because what he saw wasn't just a scorer. It was a 22-year-old with the same tunnel vision and edge that he's seen in every single icon he's interviewed. That drive? It's not just why she hits logo threes. It's why people like Letterman can't stop watching. And so did the data, because the numbers, they're screaming the same thing. Christine Brennan doesn't deal in hype. She deals in cold numbers. She's covered every Olympic Games since 1984, and she's not quick to crown. So when she says Caitlyn Clark is the best thing to ever happen to women's basketball, that's not a hot take. That's a fact check.
Oh, totally. I mean, the New York Liberty have an incredible fan base, incredible success story, obviously the defending champions. But 21, during the regular season, 21 of the 24 games that were over 1 million viewership involved Caitlyn Clark and the Indiana Fever. So, 21 out of 24. Okay, there's 3 that weren't, right? I think it is undeniable that this woman is the most important and best thing to ever happen to women's basketball.
Read that again. 21 out of 24. That's not a coincidence. That's not a marketing bump. That's gravity. Viewership isn't going up because of a league-wide movement. It's going up because Caitlyn Clark is playing. She's not riding the wave. She is the wave. And that poise under pressure, it's not just good for the league. It's almost unbelievable for her age. Here's what most people forget. Caitlyn Clark is only 23. She's younger than some players still stuck on the bench. You'd never know it from how she carries herself. And Christine Brennan called that out too, in one of the most glowing evaluations you'll hear from a veteran journalist.
Understanding the magnitude and the power of being the role model that she is, All of this, she was 22, now she's 23, but all of this at age 22, I say she's 22 going on 40 or 50. The maturity, the poise, handling every issue, lots of stuff thrown at her, lots of controversy, as you know, and everything about her, a maturity, an elegance, intelligence, and just also a sense of humor that you would hope to see in someone. And America, there she is.
That's not a scouting report. That's a character reference from someone who's covered every major female athlete for 4 decades. Because Caitlyn doesn't just handle the media, she disarms it. She doesn't just respond to controversy, she rises above it. And while the league throws elbows, she smiles, shrugs it off, and drops 25 with a logo 3. But even Brennan wasn't done yet. Because her final quote? It hit a national nerve. When Caitlyn was left off the Olympic roster, the backlash came fast. And Christine Brennan was the one who broke the story. And she didn't just say it was surprising. She said it was historic.
I'm certainly proud of how I broke the story of the Olympic snub, that the USA Basketball was not going to be putting Caitlyn Clark, the biggest name in the history of the sport. Whether she deserved to be or not, she is in terms of the fan interest and the appeal. They were not going to put her on the Olympic team.
Let's pause there. The biggest name in the history of the sport. Not college, not pro. The history of the sport. She's calling out the decision for what it is, a miss, whether you agree with the committee or not. Brennan is planting her flag. This isn't just a top player. This is the player. And she's sitting at home while the rest of Team USA plays in Paris? Yeah, that's going to age like milk. And the pushback wasn't just from journalists, players had thoughts too. Sharp ones. Peer rankings in sports are supposed to mean something. When other players vote on who they think is the best, that's the ultimate respect. So when Caitlyn Clark was voted the 9th best guard in the WNBA, one podcast couldn't believe what they were seeing.
9th amongst guards in the league. This was one of the more frustrating things I saw yesterday because there comes a point to me when thinking about Caitlyn Clark being ranked as the 9th best guard in the league by her peers. It is either delusion or it is jealousy. Because when you watch Caitlyn Clark play the game of basketball, they don't treat her like she's the 9th best guard. They don't pick her up full court like she's the 9th best guard. They don't blitz her after she crosses half court like she's the 9th best guard. They don't double team her like she's the 9th best guard. They don't foul her as though she's the 9th best guard. So to rank her as the 9th best guard leads me to believe it is either delusion or it is jealousy.
When you watch Caitlyn Clark play basketball, they don't treat her like she's the 9th best guard. They don't pick her up full court like she's 9th. They don't blitz her at half court, double team her, or foul her like she's 9th. So to rank her that way, it leads me to believe it's either delusion or jealousy. And here's what makes that so wild. Because when you watch how teams guard her, you know she's not 9th. They pick her up full court. They blitz her at half court. They trap her off screens, body her at the rim, foul her like she's prime MJ. You don't do that to the 9th best anything. So why the ranking? Simple. She's not just disrupting box scores, she's disrupting egos. And in a league that prides itself on toughness, Caitlyn Clark's popularity is pushing a lot of buttons. But things got even more uncomfortable when race entered the conversation. Akash Singh doesn't pull punches. He's a comedian, a podcaster, and a guy who's known for saying what most people won't. So when the Caitlyn Clark conversation came up, he didn't just praise her, he broke down why her rise was making so much noise.
But like, we never seen anybody play like Caitlyn, and we're all excited about it. And I do think people were more excited because she was white. Like, people in the Midwest love the fact that this is this white girl busting ass, absolutely.
Sure.
But then we, to your point, I think to finish it out, then we see Angel Reese and we're like, well, let's inflate her game because all the other dynamics are there for a great sports rivalry.
It was blunt, it was controversial, and it touched a nerve. Because whether people admit it or not, Caitlyn's rise has forced a bigger conversation about race, media, and who gets the spotlight. But here's the thing, none of that came from Caitlyn. She didn't ask to be framed that way. She didn't campaign for headlines or special treatment. She just kept winning, kept scoring, and kept shining no matter who was watching. And when you're that good, the truth is simple. People are going to project their issues onto you because they can't stop you on the court. And what happened when she missed a few games? The numbers told the truth. When Caitlyn missed a stretch of games, some fans said, let's see how the league holds up without her. And Rachel Nichols? She saw it immediately, in the numbers.
Yeah, I think this absence and then how she came back really sort of solidified all of that. Because when she came into the league, obviously interest went way up and some of the finances went way up, but there was some argument that it was a little bit of, a rising tide lifts all boats, and the popularity of the league had been increasing anyway, and Angel Reese was also a big star coming into the league. But here we go with Caitlyn Clark, singularly, being missing for the time she was gone, and ratings tanking.
That's not an opinion. That's a broadcast veteran reading a viewership chart. And it shattered one myth, that the WNBA's rise was just a natural progression, that it was coming anyway. Nah, the viewership didn't dip, it fell, and it didn't take a committee to explain why. When Caitlyn Clark plays, people tune in. When she doesn't, people don't. You can spin that a dozen ways, but all it really proves? She's not just part of the story, she is the story. And even the comedy world saw what was happening and sounded the alarm. Jimmy Fallon doesn't usually step into the sports arena. He's a late-night host, the guy who lip-syncs with celebrities and plays charades with Oscar winners. Most of his monologues are jokes, punchlines, impersonations, fake headlines. But on this night, he was serious, because what he was seeing happen to Caitlyn Clark wasn't funny anymore.
What is going on? Protect Caitlyn Clark at all costs, please. Enough of this. Please.
That's national television. Not a meme, not a trending clip, not TikTok. Real TV during one of the highest-rated shows in its time slot. And for Fallon to break tone like that, it means something. He's watched athletes rise, he's joked about drama. But this wasn't a bit, it was a plea. The targeting, the flagrant fouls, the blindside hits. Even a comedy show host could see the pattern and wanted it stopped. Because when one player carries the league's attention, you protect her. And then Dr. Phil stepped in, and he didn't hold back either. A story has hit the mainstream when Dr. Phil starts weighing in. He's not a basketball analyst. He's not a former athlete. But he's built a career identifying patterns, spotting behavior, breaking it down, and saying what other people won't. And when he looked at what's been happening to Caitlyn Clark, he didn't see competition, he saw targeting.
Welcome back to The Real Story. We've all heard about the Caitlyn Clark effect on women's basketball. And if you haven't, you should, because ever since joining the WNBA, ticket sales, merchandise sales, TV ratings, interest in the league have all skyrocketed. We're talking about one person who has taken this league and just lifted it to a whole new level.
This wasn't just a hot take from social media. This was a national voice calling out the physicality for what it is. Not basketball, but personal aggression. We're not talking about hard defense. We're talking about elbows, shoves, body checks, and eye pokes that don't happen to anyone else at this frequency. And yet, through it all, Caitlyn hasn't reacted once. No ejections, no flops, no drama. She takes the hit, adjusts her ponytail, and sinks a logo 3 on the very next possession. That kind of self-control? It's rare, especially when the league is letting you get tossed around every night like it's football. But Dr. Phil didn't stop there. He looked at the bigger picture, not just what's happening on the floor, but what's being said around it.
You can get poked in the eye, but this was not an accident. These are people going after her, sticking their fingers in her eyes, shoving her to the ground, blindsiding her, knocking her down. And clearly, these are players jealous of Clark's success and fame, and they have been playing dirty since the minute she joined the league. She came in highly touted. I mean, she redefined women's basketball at the college level.
That line hits different, because Caitlyn never asked for this level of fame. She didn't declare herself the face of the league. She earned that reaction, with every shot, every pass, every packed arena. But when you're that good, that early, and that visible, it doesn't just disrupt the standings, it disrupts the status quo. And suddenly, it's not just players trying to knock you down. It's the narrative around you shifting to paint you as the problem, when really, all you did was raise the standard. Dr. Phil saw it for what it is, and millions of fans agree. She's not just taking contact, she's taking heat from every direction and handling it like a veteran. Travis Kelce doesn't hand out compliments like candy. He's been around greatness his whole career, Super Bowl rings, Taylor Swift. The spotlight follows him everywhere. So when Caitlyn Clark came to a Chiefs game and ended up in his suite, you'd expect the usual polite shout-out. But Travis saw something more, and he couldn't stop talking about it.
I just have nothing but great things to say about who she is as a person. You know, she's so welcoming and just so warm as an individual that she can have a conversation with anybody. She's cut from the same cloth as me in that regard. You know, us Midwesterners, we tend to just, you know, accept everybody with open arms. And she was so kind to my family and everyone in the suite when she came to KC. So huge fans of Caitlyn Clark in my family and friend group.
This wasn't about handles or highlights. This was about who she is off the court. Because Caitlyn doesn't act like a celebrity. She's not walking in with an entourage or ducking fans. She shows up, talks to everyone, leaves people better than she found them. And that's why guys like Kelsey go from intrigued to lifelong fans. Because she has the game of a star and the humility of someone who still sees herself as just a kid from Iowa. But if you thought that was the highest level of respect, Patrick Mahomes had something else to say. Patrick Mahomes is him, NFL MVP, Super Bowl champion, arguably the best quarterback alive. And when he was asked about Caitlyn Clark, he didn't just hype her up. He openly admitted he couldn't guard her.
I think she's close to bringing maybe on Super Bowl Sunday, so I don't know if I'll get to see it, but I mean, just a tremendous player, a tremendous person. I've met with her and talked. You can tell she loves the game. She loves playing at Iowa, and it's gonna be one of the best women's basketball, one of the best college basketball players to ever play, and then go to the WNBA and dominate there as well. Hopefully I never have to play her one-on-one because she'll for sure be getting buckets on me.
There's no ego there, no pretending he could hang, just one generational athlete giving full respect to another and admitting without hesitation that she'd torch him. That's how you know Caitlyn's not just doing something new. She's doing something universal, crossing over from league to league, court to field, highlight to household name. At this point, Caitlyn Clark has gone way beyond basketball. Shane Gillis froze. Dan Dockich called her Steph with a twist. Christine Brennan called her the best thing to ever happen to women's basketball. Letterman saw the fire. Dr. Phil saw the targeting. And Mahomes? He waved the white flag before even stepping on the court. These aren't casual fans. These are MVPs, billionaires, comedians, and media titans. And they're all saying the same thing, in different ways. She's not just a WNBA player. She's a cultural reset, a disruptor, a superstar the world didn't see coming and now can't stop watching. So if this is what the celebrity reaction looks like now, imagine what's next. When she wins her first WNBA title, when she breaks records that haven't even been set yet, when little girls wear number 22 to school, not because of what she did, but because of what she represents. Because Caitlyn Clark isn't here to fit in. She's here to take over.